So there's going to be a spoiler-free review of Godzilla Minus One. Now, to say that this movie was not on my radar would be an understatement. I didn't even hear about this film until I started seeing reviews pop up on my YouTube suggestions page. This was late November, early December-ish, that kind of time. And I was confused because this was around the time that the Godzilla Kong sequel trailer was debuting. So naturally, I didn't know what the was going on. It wasn't until I learned that this was a Japanese-produced film, disconnected from the current Warner Brothers Godzilla from their current Godzilla Kong monsterverse. Took some time for me to actually get around to seeing the film, but it does have the honor of being the first movie that I saw in the calendar year of 2024. I saw it this past Thursday night, and surprisingly, I don't want to say it was a packed auditorium, but there was a decent amount of people in there for a film that's been out for a few weeks now. In this film, during World War II, we follow the struggles of a kamikaze pilot as Godzilla wreaks havoc in Japan, a place he either really likes or really hates. Sometimes it's kind of tough to tell. Now, be forewarned if you go to see this film, is that it's a foreign film, meaning that it's all in English subtitles as it's appropriately spoken in its native Japanese language. While extensive reading isn't always ideal during a movie experience, it's definitely not my preference. It wasn't so bad here, partially because there's heavy action, non-dialogue reading segments in the film, so that's what you get there. Now, the issue with films like this, Godzilla films or whatever, where you want to see a big CG creation wreaking havoc, in Godzilla films, Kong films, Transformers films, whatever it is that the struggle is, can you make the parts in between, mainly the human parts, watchable and not snooze-inducing? In my opinion, the Warner Brother Godzilla films over the last decade have just done an awful job at this. In the 2014 film, the non-Bryan Cranston scenes were just brutal and boring. The sequel, Godzilla King of the Monsters, actually did the human scenes okay, but they still weren't great. And the human parts in between the action in Godzilla vs. Kong were just dreadful. The most surprising thing about Godzilla Minus One is how legit good and well done the human scenes are here. As I mentioned, we follow a kamikaze pilot after surviving an encounter with Godzilla during the end of World War II. And we see his life develop in surprising ways, and now he forms an unorthodox family with a female bomb survivor that he lets into his home. It's kind of a weird situation. And along with her, she brings an adopted baby, which she found in the rubble, I guess. We see the ups and downs of his new life, the friends that he makes when he gets a job working on a boat, and just as the drama throughout the film was just pretty good, if you ask me. You can tell that these human scenes were actually thought out here in the writing of the characters and the scenes, writing characters and scenes that mattered, and not just filling in time for the next set piece. At times, the film can go on what could feel like about a half hour of human-centered drama scenes, which isn't what most people would sign up for in a Godzilla film, but it works because these scenes are actually legit good. In between these scenes, of course, are your Godzilla set pieces. Now, if the only Godzilla films you've seen are the recent ones over the last decade from Warner Brothers in that Godzilla Kongverse, then you're more familiar with the more heroic portrayal of Godzilla. Well, his portrayal here is anything but heroic in this. Like I said, this is separated from those Warner Brother films. This is a different Godzilla here. And here, he's an epic badass bent on f***ing up whatever he sees in front of him. You get a total of really 4 Godzilla set pieces here, which may not seem like a lot, but they're evenly dispersed throughout this 2-hour film. And they vary in the type of action scenes that there are. Some that are more land-oriented, ocean-oriented, and sky-oriented. And they're all great. They look great, they're epic, Godzilla looks great, although I will say that there are moments where his movement was a little stiff. Whatever the equivalent of this budget was in US dollars, I'm guessing it didn't have the equivalent of a $200 million budget like the current Godzilla films are, which all had excellent CG, though I did love the model of Godzilla here. He did look evil and just that menace he was being, just terrorizing all of Japan, so that was well done. These Godzilla-centered scenes are heightened because, like I said, the human scenes and drama in between are legit good and raises the stakes whenever Godzilla comes to do his thing, because you do like the characters here, leading to an excellent climax. The movie just came together all around just great, It had me saying, wow, this is just fantastic to watch. With my major negative being something that got revealed at the very end. Not the final shot of the movie, but the scene before that. Up until then, the movie was very believable, well, believable that you could be for a Godzilla film, mainly in its portrayal of the human characters and drama, very mature in that fashion, in fact. But at the very end, there's a reveal that happens that felt like a 5-year-old wrote it, and had the entire auditorium collectively saying, bullshit. You know, it was just completely ridiculous and unbelievable. And if you think about it too much, it almost undoes and ruins all the human drama, good human drama that there was in this film. I'll try not to think about it too much, but like I said, that reveal at the end was just terrible. But for the most part, it doesn't ruin this otherwise great movie experience. 9.5 out of 10 back spikes for Godzilla Minus One. It might have been a 10 out of 10, but like I said, that reveal at the end was just brutal. It's easy to see, though, why this film got the kind of hype that it did after seeing it, because this really was just an excellent movie and just a real surprise. This is a movie that was just not on my radar before going in, hadn't seen any trailers, any images, nothing. So this was kind of a fresh, fun, surprise movie experience with Godzilla Minus One. If anything, I think this movie is both good news and bad news for the Godzilla Kong sequel that comes out this year. Because on one hand, given how audiences are reacting to this film, you can think like, all right, ready to see more Godzilla. But something tells me that that sequel, based on the trailers and the previous history of that franchise, isn't going to quite have the smarts and the writing of Godzilla Minus One, leading to people probably thinking more negatively about the sequel, but we'll just have to wait and see when it comes out. I'd love to be wrong on that one. So that does it for this review of Godzilla Minus One. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.